A concussion is such a hot topic in sports these days, but we first need to have a proper understanding of what the concussion really is. So what's the first thing that you would think of when you hear the word concussion? Maybe a boxer getting punched in the head? Well, that's a pretty common image that people would have. But let me point this out. In order for you to sustain a concussion, you do not always have to get hit in the head. In fact, concussion means to shake violently in Latin. What does that mean? That means any force that would be transmitted to the head and it is strong enough to shake the brain, it can create the state of concussion. A direct blow to the head can of course do it, but a hit to the face, neck, shoulder, chest, back, even a hip, it could be anywhere. Your brain is literally floating within a fluid called cerebrospinal fluid in the skull. Upon an impact, for example, getting a hit to a hip like in this picture, your brain will get shaken within the skull and get smashed against your skull, which can lead to a concussion. So what exactly is going on when you sustain a concussion? What is really happening to your brain? If you think that your brain would start bleeding or get swollen, I must say that is not true. Concussion is defined as a functional disturbance rather than a structural injury. And let me explain what that means. I would like to give you an analogy. Imagine that you are in the middle of Manhattan, New York. It's 5 a.m. on Saturday. There's virtually no traffic and you can go anywhere taking any roads that you like, and it takes a very minimum amount of time to get to your destination. This represents the healthy brain. Signal can travel freely and they're transmitted very fast. They can get the job done easily. Now, take a look at the map on the left. We are still looking at the same area, Manhattan, but now it's 4:30 p.m. on Friday. Streets are busy, traffics are heavy. It takes forever for you to get to the place that you like to go, and you must work harder to do so. This is the brain with a concussion. Note that there are no roads that are broken, no bridges are fallen, which would represent a structural damages such as bleeding or swelling. In the case of concussion, all the streets are fine structurally. It's just that there's a heavy traffic. There are random signals running everywhere, which will create noises, and it takes a longer time and more efforts for you to get the same job done. CT scan or MRI of the brain is often obtained in emergency room, but these are indeed for detecting the more severe brain trauma such as actual bleeding within the brain or brain tumor, which requires more immediate medical attention. Please know that a concussion itself cannot be seen in these images because, again, it is a functional injury rather than structural. The only imaging technique that can be used for a diagnosis of a concussion is something called functional MRI or fMRI. This imaging technique can capture the brain activity. So for example, if you had to ask a person who sustained a concussion to do something like a simple math, such as 3 plus 5 plus 6, his or her fMRI can exhibit random activation of the brain, which would look just like a Friday evening Manhattan traffic, meaning that they are trying harder to get the signal to the right place in the brain, and it takes longer. Hope this video helped you understand concussions better.